Welcome to the Try, a concept 2x1 village base that overlaps TC privilege using anti-siege, meaning that raiders will have to take control of all three bases to raid it. It hosts a new Wallstacked bunker similar to freehand bunkers but with a new connection method. 3 2x1s, including the anti-siege disconnectable turret pods, can be set up almost instantly during wipe, and even expand from simple airlock 2x1s. 2 entrances per side allows for amazing flank opportunities. Each base has a simple but effective shooting floor, allowing angles both outside and inside the compound to cover the opposing bases. There is a nice spot for landing minis on each roof too, covered by turrets. Pair this with a cozy interior and simple starter calls, the Try might be the base for you. We start off the tour showing these Patrico peaks to watch outside the compound. There are also door peaks for some extra angles. We can enter the base using one of these 2 doors. Both act as an entrance and one is our exit. As soon as you enter the door, you are met by turret pods on either side. There are 6 turrets covering the compound of this base. As you can see, one of the entrances has a ramp that you can exit the base from. You can in fact use both as an exit if you do some parkour. In the centre we have 3 turret pods that cover the compound. Each turret covers their respective compound walls in case of a breach. These are disconnectable turret pods that act as anti-siege to replace TCs. They extend the privilege of each of the opposing bases to cover the TC from being replaced. This means that raiders must take control of all 3 bases and their TCs to successfully raid this base. After disconnecting and replacing any TCs if you need, you can then reconnect it like so. I would like to note that the TC privilege overlap range is incredibly strict on this base. Any additions to the inside of each base may result in the TC privilege overlapping too much. Each bunker entrance is covered by 3 turrets, as well as a shotgun trap area if you were to place one. These bunkers are very similar to Alone in Tokyo's designs, which use freehand placement, but this is a normal wall stack bunker with a new connection. Now we enter one of the simple airlock 2x1s. Here is the upkeep of each base. There are only 3 TCs on this base. As you can see, this is the simplest vanilla 2x1 starter call. To access the second floor, you can place a ladder hatch instead of this jump up if you would prefer. You can access it by doing a crouch jump. On the second floor we have space for many deployables such as electric furnaces, batteries, beds and extra storage. Here we have a simple door peak that makes use of the new bunker connection. These roofs here connect to the main TC, meaning that you do not require an extra TC to upkeep the other side of the bunker. You can use this little peak down area to clear some of the compound as well as seal your bunkers. As you can see, you can seal the bunker of the other base as well as the one you're in. Coming into the shooting floor, we have some Patrico peaks that look outside and inside the compound, while also covering the roofs of the opposing bases. You can get some decent long angles here, as well as clear the roof as previously mentioned. This relatively open shooting floor allows you to get a range of angles. And once again we have the same peak mirrored on the other side to cover the other base. You can also seal the bunkers from this peak. Here we have another ramp Patrico peak that I like to use in many of my bases. This gives you a great range of long angles and vertical angles. And we have a simple window here. You can replace that with a full wall if you would prefer. Here we have a simple door peak. This is repeated on the other side too. This gives you some decent vertical angles. Here we have a roof peak that acts as a wide gap. This gives you great angles right up to the side of the base to clear anyone hugging close to the base. And once again on this side we have another door peak, as well as an angle biter peak to cover the jump up to the roof. This is great to cover any top-down raids. We enter the roof through the simple jump up. Here we have a horizontal embrasure peak to watch behind the base. The roof is covered by 1 turret on each of the bases. By having this chain link, it does protect the turret, as well as allowing you to clear the roof before you advance. I use these solar panels to achieve some decent peaks over the low walls. These can be used to power your electric furnaces as well. I am aware that solar panel orientation does affect electrical output, so play around with this. There is space up here for a windmill and a minicopter landing pad. As you can see from the inside of your base, you will not be able to open your bunker. I would recommend having small boxes outside the base within the compound to have some building plans and wood in case it is sealed when you come back to your base. This stone roof also acts as a connection point to the main TC from our Wallstacked bunker. This is amazing for early game as it acts as a jump up to access our base as well as connect the Wallstacked bunker. Before getting into the build, a word from our sponsor Blue Haven. I would like to announce that I will be playing here on next Force Wipe, so are you tired of getting offline raided and want to test one of my base designs? Blue Haven is the server for you. A 2x trio server dedicated to anti-offlines. They are one of the best servers to test your base design on, featuring 2x gather and online raid periods.
Sounds like the raid window's over. We're safe for now.
If you are interested and want to find out more about Blue Haven, you can find their Discord server on the screen or down in the description below. To start off the build, you want to place down a simple 2x1 with an airlock on the right hand side. The 2x1 orientation with regards to the airlock and the position of the TC is vital for this base to work, so make sure that you place it in this exact configuration. Place the TC on the left hand side and then we can add a shelf later. From the outside of the base we can place this foundation here and then add a half height shelf. We can leave the half height jump up as this is what we will use later. This is your simple starter base. Now, before we expand at all, we want to expand by these foundations. Build out by 3 squares, then place 1 triangle. Then off each side of this triangle, you want to place 3 squares. Then you will place your final triangle, and then your 2x1. This is what the foundation should look like. Now you want to build the 2x1. Make sure that it is the same orientation as the first 2x1 you placed. It has to be the same direction, otherwise the TC will not place. As you can see here, you will not be able to place the TC. This is obviously due to the twig build out connecting it to the main TC. At this stage, once you've built out, you can just delete the twig. Then finally, you want to build your final 2x1 in the same configuration once again. This is what the base should look like at this stage. You can live out of these 3 2x1s for a while, as the storage space is pretty decent. Now we will wall stack and add our bunkers, then we will connect it to the main TC, followed by the anti-siege turret pods. You want to build out by 5 squares, then cap off with a triangle, and then come back with 2 half moons. Then cap off with another triangle, and then build out by 2 more squares. Then build back by half moons, and then you should be left with the final foundation. There should be a small gap in between the foundations. If there is, you can upgrade to high quality metal. Then destroy the twig build out. Now we will connect it to the main TC. You want to add honeycomb on this side and then upgrade. Off this second triangle foundation, we will add a triangle roof. This will now connect it to the main TC. You can check it's working by checking the upkeep has twig on it. As you can see, if we remove the twig ramp, we do not have wood anymore, even though we have a twig foundation. If you use other skins or upgrade to stone, as I do here, you should also check that the upkeep changes to make sure the connection is working. You can then add your wall. This will be upgraded to armoured later. You can upgrade to armoured now, or you can just leave it as stone. This can be done at a later stage. Now you can seal in the top, and then add a jump up. You can use this ramp outside the base that connects it to the main TC as your roof access. This is way more convenient than opening the bunker early on into the wipe. Now you want to repeat this on the other two sides. I will skip it for the sake of the video. Now you want to simply add honeycomb all around the 2x1s. As you can see here, there is a tiny gap. You want to upgrade this frame inside to cover it with a conditional. You can then place a double door frame here and make sure you rotate it the correct way. This will cover the gap on this side too. I will do all the final upgrades now for the core. You can do this at a later stage when you acquire the materials. Now to cover the gap on top of the Wallstacked bunker, we will open it using a twig roof. Of course I use metal here because of B grade, but you can just leave it as twig in a real game. Then you want to place a triangle frame like so. This will cover the gap on top. It will also be connected to our anti-siege disconnectable. Now repeat this on the other two sides, and now we will do our anti-siege disconnectables. You now want to come to the left hand side and then place these two squares, followed by 3 triangles and 3 squares. You can then delete all of the previous foundations placed and then place this final triangle. It should look something like this. Now we will connect it to the main TC by placing 2 half walls on the right hand side. This is vital for the disconnectable to work. You want to place a square frame and then follow up by these triangle frames. This should connect it to the main TC. You can simply inspect these frames, but you should also notice they won't let you place it if it is incorrectly placed. Now repeat it on the other two sides. However, when repeating it on the other two sides, we will realise that the triangle turret pod blocks the placement of this square. To fix this, we build out by triangles instead. You can build out by approximately 6 triangles. Then place a final triangle on the left hand side. Then you can place your square and then your final triangle. The gap should roughly be like this. Delete all the original foundations and then connect it to the main TC. We can then repeat the same method on this final 2x1. Once you have placed your final turret pod, you can place these wooden foundations. These mark where you place the roofs to disconnect it. I like placing these because it prevents me incorrectly placing the furnaces. You can then expand the privilege of each of the TCs. You can do this at a later stage if you'd like, as you've only built one layer up, but this will prevent TC placement on top of the 2x1s. At this stage you can add auto turrets if you have them, and then add chain link as well. Now we will expand the 2x1s. I will do it on one side and then skip the video for the other two. You can simply watch back this when you do each 2x1. On this outside triangle, place a doorway on the right hand side. You will also want to repeat this on the left hand side for your other entrance. You will not be able to place this wall here due to the wall stacking. You want to place a half wall and then a floor on top. Then place a door frame on top. Then place a half wall on the left hand side and then a frame on top. Adding a triangle frame and then triangle roofs on top will also connect it to the main TC. This will allow redundancy in having 2 connection points. You can then simply seal in the top, leaving space for a jump up here next to the door. I make an error here placing a single door frame. This will be a double door frame, so make sure you change it. Make sure the door opens inwards. Add a window on the right hand side, and then you can seal in the top using another window. You can add window glass here and a horizontal embrasure on the other window. You will upgrade this to metal. I will do this now for the sake of the build video. Now you want to repeat this on the other 2 sides. Once you have completed each side, you can also add a garage door on this frame that I forgot about. Now we will complete the shooting floor. Add a half-height wall here on each side. This will be used for our ramps and Patrico peaks. Add frames here on each side and then add a single door frame in the middle. You want to then place a window frame on the right hand side, followed by these frames here. You can then add the ramp peak here, which acts as a grenade chute. On top you want to add a half-height wall and then a window frame. This will be our jump up, so you can add a triangle frame on top. Then add ramps on either side here. Before completing the shooting floor, we must honeycomb the bottom of the base. But at this stage, if you haven't honeycombed, you can simply add doorways here to seal it. You can also add a frame on top like so, and then add a double door frame to seal in the roof. When placing the turret pod, I make an error here by placing the 2 half walls. These will be full walls that we will later add on top of the honeycomb. We place these 2 triangles on either side to help us place the barricade. These will of course be left twig in game. Once you place the barricade, you can delete the 2 triangles. I also recommend putting the chain link there before you place the barricade to help with placement. You can then add low walls on all sides and then add the optional solar panels. Then you can add your windmill on top. Feel free to customize this roof area however you like. I do like the open feel in case of minicopters. Now we will honeycomb the back side of the base. We want to place these 3 triangle foundations as honeycomb. Then we will do square ramps on the remaining sides. On top of these triangles on the left and right, you want to place these ramps for roof peaks, followed by 2 frames on top and the 2 full walls as previously mentioned. If you have placed half walls, you can simply just place another load of half walls. The method I've done does reduce the upkeep. These square ramps as Honeycomb will act both as honeycomb and access to your base. You can of course add doorways to all of these entrances at this stage. Now add embrasures in the configuration shown. Now you want to repeat this honeycomb on all 3 bases. Now we will do our compound placement. On the right hand side, place it as close to the wall as possible, then you will have no problem placing the second wall. Then simply place it on the other sides too. Here is some recommended placement for furnaces. You can play around with this however you like. Now I will run through some other deployables, including the turrets. I advise adding another chain link to protect the turrets even more. This is optional, you can leave this out if you like. Now we will run through some deployables. I will only furnish one of the 2x1s, as you can just repeat this on the others, and you'd probably want to vary what deployables you have in each 2x1. And that is pretty much the base complete. If you did like what you see, please consider subscribing and liking down below. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching.